Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention because this could change your life. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, one thing that separates those who live fulfilling lives from those who live at the mercy of their circumstances, it's this. We can't control everything that happens to us, but we can control how we react. You see, it's easy to be positive when everything is going well. When business is booming, when relationships are harmonious, when health is excellent. But the real test of life doesn't come in those moments. It comes when challenges arise, when doors close, when someone disappoints you, when you receive bad news. And the question isn't whether these moments will come, because they will. The real question is, how will you react? The mistake of wishing for an easy life. Too many people spend too much time wishing life were different. They say, oh, if only I didn't have so many problems. If only the people around me were nicer. If only the economy were more stable. But friends, this is a trap, because life will never be perfect. There will always be challenges. So instead of praying for fewer problems, start praying for more skills. I'll say it again. Don't pray for fewer problems, pray for more skills. Why? Because that's how you become strong. Difficulties aren't there to defeat you. They're there to shape you. True strength lies in your inner calm. Now, here's something you need to understand. True strength doesn't come from fighting, but from inner calm. Imagine two people facing exactly the same problem. One of them panics, reacts impulsively, makes rash decisions, and ends up making the situation worse. The other remains calm, analyzes the situation clearly, acts strategically, and emerges stronger than before. Which one of them has a better chance of winning? The problem is the same, but the outcome is completely different because the way they reacted was different. This means that in the end, what determines your destiny is not what happens, but how you respond to what happens. And the question I ask you is, have you trained your mind to stay calm? If not, it's time to start. How to develop the ability to stay calm. Staying calm is not something that happens automatically. It's a habit, a skill that can be developed. Here are some practical ways to train your mind to stay strong in the face of life's storms. Train your mind like an athlete trains their body. If you want a strong body, you need daily exercise. The same goes for your mind. What you read, what you listen to, the conversations you have, all of these things either strengthen or weaken your mindset. So feed your mind with good thoughts. Read good books. Spend time with people who lift you up. Develop a long-term vision. Too often we react badly because we are focused only on the present moment, but look back on your life. How many situations that seemed disastrous at the time turned out to be blessings in disguise later? When you develop the mindset that everything happens for a reason and that there is always something to learn, your emotional response changes. Practice emotional discipline. Imagine a warrior. He doesn't panic on the battlefield. He stays focused because he knows that every move counts. You need to have the same mindset. Take a deep breath. Before you react to something, stop and think. Will this reaction help me or hurt me? Maintain habits that bring mental clarity, meditation, prayer, exercise, spending time in nature. All of these help keep your mind balanced. Don't wait until you're in the middle of chaos to try to calm down. Calmness must be cultivated every day. Learn to respond, not react. The difference between the successful and the frustrated is that the successful have learned to respond, while the others only react. The reaction is impulsive, emotional. The response is strategic, intelligent. If someone provokes you, instead of reacting in the heat of the moment, stop and think. If I respond in this way, will it get me where I want to be? If something unexpected happens, instead of complaining, ask yourself, how can I use this to my advantage? Now, here's a challenge for you. For the next 7 days, I want you to practice the art of calm. Whenever something irritates you, instead of reacting automatically, pause, breathe, think, and choose a conscious response. You will notice that by the end of these 7 days, your perspective on life's challenges will begin to change. And most importantly, come back here and tell me in the comments how your experience was. Let's build a community of people who are not victims of circumstances, but masters of their own reactions. Because remember, life is not what happens to you, it's how you react to what happens to you. Stand firm, be strong, stay calm, and win. My friends, pay attention, because this could change your life. What separates those who achieve great things from those who live frustrated and at the mercy of circumstances? It's not money. It's not luck. It's not intelligence. It's emotional control. Yes, emotional control is a superpower. Because you see, we all face challenges. We all deal with difficulties. But there's one difference between those who succumb to pressure and those who emerge even stronger: the way they deal with their emotions. When you learn to control your emotions, something amazing happens. Situations no longer control you. This means that when someone provokes you, you don't explode. This means that when life throws you a curveball, you don't panic. This means that when things don't go as planned, you don't despair. Instead, you respond with clarity and intelligence. Now, pay attention. Responding is very different from reacting. The difference between reacting and responding: most people live on autopilot. They react to everything that happens around them, like a wild animal acting on instinct. If something goes wrong, they complain. If someone offends them, they fight back. If an obstacle appears, they panic. But people who have mastered their emotions do something different. They respond. Responding means that you take control of your own mind. It means that you are no longer a slave to your emotions. You see, anyone can react. Anyone can explode when they are angry. Anyone can panic when they are afraid. But it takes strength, discipline, and inner greatness to look at a challenging situation and say, I will not let this get the better of me. I will not let this define who I am. I will respond with intelligence, not impulsivity. That's what great leaders do. That's what successful entrepreneurs do. That's what people who build a legacy do. They don't let circumstances dictate their emotions. They don't let anger, fear, or frustration take over their lives. They choose how they respond. And that choice makes all the difference. The impact of emotional control on your life. Emotional control isn't just a pretty concept, it's a practical advantage that can transform every aspect of your life. In business, if you can stay calm while everyone else around you is losing control, you become an indispensable person. While others make impulsive decisions, you act strategically. In relationships, if you learn to control your emotions, you avoid unnecessary fights and build deeper, healthier connections. Instead of reacting with anger, you listen. Instead of responding with hostility, you act with emotional intelligence. In your health, if you master your emotions, you avoid excessive stress, which is one of the greatest destroyers of well-being. You keep your mind calm, your energy balanced, and your body functioning at its best. Emotional control doesn't happen by accident. It has to be cultivated. This means that you need to feed your mind with good information. Read good books. Listen to good teachings. Surround yourself with people who lift you up. If you spend your day consuming negative news, complaining, or surrounding yourself with toxic people, your mind will be programmed for chaos. But if you train your mind to be calm, wise, and clear, this will become your natural response. Most people act without thinking. They feel angry and immediately scream. They feel afraid and immediately shrink. But you can train your mind to do something different. Pause. Take a deep breath. Reflect for a moment. And then choose the best response. This simple habit can prevent many mistakes and open many doors in your life. The first step to controlling your emotions is to know yourself. When you understand what destabilizes you, you can better prepare for those situations. If you know that certain things make you angry, ask yourself, how can I deal with this in a better way? If you find that fear always paralyzes you, ask yourself, what can I do to face this fear rationally? Self-knowledge is what separates those who are masters of their emotions from those who are dominated by them. Nothing strengthens the mind more than the practice of gratitude. When you learn to focus on the good, When you train your mind to see opportunities instead of problems, your emotional response changes completely. The most successful people in the world are not those who never face difficulties. They are those who, when faced with difficulties, are able to remain calm, see solutions, and move forward. And this starts with a change in mindset. The power of choosing how you will react. Imagine that you are driving and suddenly someone cuts you off in a reckless manner. You have two options. You can get angry, yell, honk your horn, and let this moment ruin your entire day. Or you can take a deep breath, realize that losing your temper will not change anything, and move forward, maintaining your inner peace. Now expand this to your entire life. If someone criticizes you, you can react with anger and resentment, or you can respond with maturity and intelligence. If an unexpected obstacle appears in your path, you can despair, or you can face the situation calmly and think of solutions. If something goes wrong with your plans, you can get frustrated and give up, or you can learn from the experience and move forward with more wisdom. That choice is always in your hands. Now, I want you to pay attention to this. Your mind is like a muscle. And just like any muscle in your body, it needs constant training to become stronger. If you never exercise a muscle, it weakens, becomes flaccid, loses resistance. But if you train it regularly, it becomes firm, resilient, strong. The same thing happens with the mind. If you don't exercise your mind, if you don't feed it with good ideas, with learning, with productive thoughts, it becomes weak. It begins to give in easily to fear, anger, discouragement. It becomes incapable of withstanding challenges, and any small difficulty seems like an uncontrollable storm. But when you train your mind every day, something powerful happens. You develop clarity. You develop emotional resilience. You develop an unshakable mindset. And that is the real secret of inner strength. It is not the absence of challenges that makes someone strong, but the ability to face them with a prepared mind. Daily mind training. Now, listen to me carefully. Mind training does not happen by accident. You need to work on it every day, just like an athlete trains his body. Each of these elements is an essential pillar for building a strong mindset, and I'll explain why. Reading is like lifting weights for the brain. Each page of a good book strengthens your mindset, expands your knowledge, opens new perspectives. And mind you, I'm not talking about just any reading. Reading gossip, negative news, toxic content on social media. That's not training for the mind. That's poison. If you want to strengthen your mindset, you need to feed your mind with the best. Books on personal development, biographies of successful people, texts that challenge your way of thinking, that expand your worldview. Because you see, the human mind operates within the limits of what it knows. If all you know are problems, difficulties, failures, and negative thoughts, your mind will have no choice but to react this way to life. But if you fill your mind with good ideas, strategies, and inspiring stories, suddenly you start to think differently. You start to see opportunities where before you only saw obstacles. You start to act intelligently instead of reacting impulsively. And this change happens because reading strengthens your thinking, organizes your ideas, and builds a solid foundation of knowledge. That's why the most successful people in the world have the habit of reading daily. They know that the mind needs to be fed with wisdom, just as the body needs healthy food. If there's one thing I've learned throughout my life, it's that the most emotionally strong people are those who never stop learning. The world is always changing. New ideas emerge, new opportunities appear, and those who stop in time end up being left behind. Now, learning doesn't just happen in books. It happens in daily experiences, in productive conversations, in the observations we make around us. A person who is always open to learning, who seeks to grow every day, develops a flexible, adaptable, and resilient mind. And you see, this is important because life will never be a straight line. There will always be unexpected curves, unforeseen challenges. And if your mind is not trained to adapt, to learn from each situation, you will be easily defeated. But when you adopt continuous learning as a lifestyle, you become indestructible. Because no matter what happens, you will always find a way to grow. And this is the real difference between those who remain weak and those who become strong. The strong never stop learning. Now, the third and most powerful way to train your mind, positive and directed thinking. You see, I am talking about realistic positive thinking based on action and strategy, not on empty illusions. Many people confuse positive thinking with naive optimism, as if simply wishing for something is enough to make it happen. But that's not true. Positive thinking doesn't mean ignoring problems. It means training your mind to focus on solutions instead of drowning in worries. It means that when faced with a challenge, you don't give in to fear, but look for alternatives. It means that when something goes wrong, you don't drown in regrets, but focus on what you can do next. And this change of mindset is crucial because the energy you feed into your mind sets the direction of your life. If you feed negative thoughts, your mind becomes weak, your worldview narrows, your ability to make good decisions diminishes. But if you feed productive thoughts, your mind expands, your creativity grows, your ability to face challenges increases. This means that every day you need to watch the thoughts that enter your mind. Just as you wouldn't put any garbage in the gas tank of your car, you can't allow any kind of negative thought to take up space in your head. She reads good books to feed her mind. She seeks to learn continuously to become wiser. She trains her thinking to focus on solutions, not problems. She becomes unshakable. When a challenge presents itself, she doesn't panic. She thinks clearly. When things don't go as planned, she doesn't despair. She adapts and moves forward. When difficulties arise, she doesn't give up. She learns, grows, and becomes stronger. And that, my friends, is the true secret of inner strength. Now, pay close attention to this because it can change the way you deal with each challenge in your life. Most impulsive reactions bring regret. And this is not an opinion, it is a fact that is repeated every day in the lives of millions of people. How many times does someone say something in the heat of the moment and then deeply regret it? How many times does a decision made in a hurry, with anger, with fear, end up costing dearly? How many times does a poorly thought out word destroy a relationship, close a door, or create a problem that could have been avoided? This happens because impulsiveness robs you of your ability to think clearly. Emotion comes like a strong wave, and if you don't know how to control it, it sweeps you away. It makes you say things you didn't mean to say. It makes you take actions you shouldn't take. But there is a solution. There is a powerful antidote to impulsiveness. And this antidote is called pausing. It's that simple, but extremely powerful. Because when something irritates you, when a situation challenges you, when the pressure is high and your mind wants to react automatically, the secret is to take a deep breath before responding. The power of pausing, a small moment that changes everything. Now, look, this pause is not weakness. On the contrary, this pause is the sign of true strength, because anyone can react without thinking. Anyone can explode when provoked. Anyone can scream when frustrated. But it takes discipline. It takes maturity. It takes intelligence to take a deep breath and choose the best response. And that choice can completely change the course of a situation. If someone provokes you and you respond impulsively, the situation turns into a conflict. But if you pause, if you breathe, if you stay calm, suddenly you have control. Now you can decide how to act in the most intelligent way. If a problem arises and you panic, your mind becomes clouded, your emotions take over, and your decisions become bad. But if you pause, if you breathe, you gain a moment to organize your thoughts, to see the situation clearly, to choose the best strategy. This simple practice can save relationships, it can preserve opportunities, it can avoid regrets. Because the big truth is this: calmness allows you to make better decisions. The brain in a calm state versus a stressed state. Now, I'm going to explain the science behind this, because this is not just a motivational idea. It's a proven principle of how the human mind works. Our brain has two main ways of operating: the reactive mode, the survival system, and the rational mode, the intelligence and strategy system. The reactive mode is activated when we feel fear, anger, stress. It puts the body on alert, makes the heart race, makes the muscles tense, makes the mind act on impulse. It's a defense mechanism that was once essential for our ancestors when they needed to react quickly to escape real danger, like a wild animal. But in the modern world, this system can become a problem because most situations we face don't require an impulsive reaction, but rather a strategic response. If you're in an argument with a coworker, you don't need to fight or flee. You need to think clearly and solve the problem. If you receive criticism, you don't need to automatically defend yourself. You need to evaluate whether the criticism is valid and how you can best deal with it. If something goes wrong with your plans, you don't need to panic. You need to find solutions. And that's where the brain's rational mode comes in. The rational mode allows you to analyze the situation intelligently, see the available options, and choose the best course of action. But here's the important detail. The brain can't operate in both modes at the same time. If you're in reactive mode, the rational mode is switched off. If you're in rational mode, the reactive mode calms down. And what's the key to making this transition? Pausing, breathing, calming. The strategy of great leaders and brilliant minds. If you observe the most successful people in the world, you will realize that they have mastered this art. They do not get carried away by the heat of the moment. They do not make hasty decisions. They do not allow negative emotions to dictate their actions. On the contrary, they know that emotional control is a superpower. They have learned to pause. They have learned to breathe before acting. They have learned to leave space between stimulus and response. And this small space makes all the difference, because in it lies the power of choice. When someone offends you, you can react immediately and make the situation worse. Or you can pause, breathe, evaluate the intention behind those words, and respond in a way that brings a positive result. When a problem arises, you can despair and act on impulse, or you can pause, breathe, organize your thoughts, and seek the smartest solution. This small difference can change careers, relationships, and destinies. And it all starts with a simple habit: taking a deep breath before responding, turning this into a lifestyle now. For this to become second nature, you need to practice. The mind, like any muscle, needs training. So starting today, start observing your reactions. Start becoming aware of what is happening inside you before you act. And whenever you feel the urge to react on impulse, do the following. Pause. Leave a little space between the stimulus and the response. Breathe. Inhale deeply through your nose and release slowly through your mouth. This calms the nervous system and activates the brain's rational mode. Think. Ask yourself, what is the best way to deal with this? Respond intelligently. Now, with a clearer mind, choose the attitude that will bring the best result. Over time, this will become automatic. Your mind will be trained to respond wisely instead of reacting on impulse. And when this happens, you will see incredible changes in your life. You will become a more respected person. Your relationships will be healthier. Your decisions will be more accurate. Your inner peace will be greater, because calmness allows you to make better decisions. And in the end, it is the decisions we make that determine the course of our lives.